I'm Lisa Larson-Kelley, and this is multi-bitrate and multi-screen streaming with Flash Media Server 4.5. Basically, I'm going to show you how to stream to both devices and screens that support Flash, as well as to iOS using the latest version of FMS. And I am a consultant and founder of LearnFromLisa.com. I'm also a Adobe community professional, which means I don't really work for Adobe. They just send me free stuff to give to people. So I have a couple of giveaways after, and there's going to be a quiz with 2 questions. So pay attention. There will be a test, if you're interested in that anyway. But so as I said, I don't really work for Adobe, but I have been working with FMS for a really long time, back to Flash Communication Server. So who is this session geared for? Pretty much anyone that needs to deliver to multiple screens and who is interested in either using FMS or finding out more about FMS. So I'm not going to get into the real weeds of the technology. I am going to do some demos about showing you how to live stream using Flash Media Live Encoder. But you know, it's not. We're not going to get into programming in this session. So, how many of you are developers? Okay. So this will give you the lay of the land. I'll show you where things are in FMS. I'll show you the. How many have used FMS before? Okay. So most of you, many of you are already familiar with it, but the latest version with the live packaging. There's a few other additional places to look for files and so on. So I'll show you that. And just so you know, this presentation is available for download or for viewing online at Speaker. It's a new service. I forget what it's called now. But follow that URL and you'll get it. So we'll start out by getting to know FMS 4.5. We'll look at the protocols and what they can do and where they're supported. And then I'll show you how to stream on demand and live multi-bitrate using each of the 3 protocols. And then we'll look at some additional features, which include protected HDS and HLS, which are now supported in FMS. Okay, so just, little stats about FMS, and it's available in 3 different levels. There's the streaming server, which is just for streaming. You don't get interaction, you don't get real-time communication, strictly for streaming. And then there's an interactive server, which gives you access to some server-side code. You can do a little bit more with it. You can also start to play with peer-to-peer in Flash using RTMP. I'll talk a little bit about that too. It is limited to 500 connections for that. And then there's the big daddy, the enterprise server, that still has some connection limits, but it's higher and also supports SIP. And what we're going to be using is the development server, which is free. So if anyone, those of you who have already played with it, I'm sure you have this. You can download it for free, and it's just limited to 10 connections. Okay, so what can you do in general with FMS? It does support multiple delivery methods. You can reach Air clients, Flash player. You can reach Android and iOS. It provides real-time packaging of your streams in HTTP dynamic streaming, or HDS, for Flash delivery, and HLS for iOS. So you can just put a single file into a directory, which I'll show you, and when it's requested with a certain URL, it will package that in the correct format. You also get integrated real-time interactivity, which is over RTMP, so you can do video chats and webcam chats and things like that. And also you get various levels of content protection. So you can just encrypt the stream using RTMP-E, or if you need a little bit more, you can incorporate Flash access. Or right in between there is the protected streaming, which I'll talk about. And of course, you get analytics, much more than on a progressive video or HTML5 video. You can really find out a lot about how the video performed, if it stuttered, if it failed to play, interactions that the viewer had with it, if they paused it, and so on, and what videos they watched. You have access to all of that. And what is new in 4.5 in this version? The HTTP live streaming support is new. The on-demand packaging is new. Before, it would deliver HTTP in the previous version. It would deliver HDS to Flash, but you'd have to do this pre-processing step, which you don't have to do now. Audio extraction for HLS, that's important if you're, it's one of the requirements that Apple has for media. You have to have an audio-only file, so that's important that when you're packaging that in real time, that you also deliver that too. So that Flash will provide that, or FMS will provide that. And then, of course, the protected, which I've been talking about, and SIP gateway support in the expensive version. Multicast, ingest, and recording. Before you could, it did support multicast, but now you can actually ingest via multicast as well. And the big change is it's 64-bit only. Many of us are already getting up to speed with 64-bit, but if you're in an enterprise, you don't have, haven't upgraded everything, your infrastructure, it is 64-bit. And I was working on a older machine that I used for development because I normally use a Mac, and there is no Mac version of FMS. So I had this old beat-up laptop that I used to develop on, and of course it was 32-bit, so I had to buy a new PC. Okay, so let's look at the protocols. First is good old RTMP. That's been around forever. And it allows you to do live video capture within the Flash player. It also allows you to do server-side recording. You can use custom server-side action script to initiate streams and do all sorts of things on the server side. Logging and administration, and the real-time communication. And that means you can, you can do text chat. It's not just video and audio back and forth. It's also data. So if you want to do some gaming, multiplayer gaming, the latency isn't great for that. There are other tools that are better. But if it's just, like a words with friends kind of thing, that's great. And of course, robust content protection. Adobe's very focused on the content protection part of things. The downside to RTMP is that sometimes it's blocked. Sometimes that port will be blocked and you won't be able to get that RTMP traffic. And of course, it's not supported on iOS, as we all know. Then we have HDS, which is HTTP dynamic streaming. So it's basically a format that breaks the stream into chunks, just like HLS does, but this is supported in Flash. So it's just a slightly different packaging of the data. You can do live and on demand. It does go over standard HTTP connections, so you're not going to get that same blocking that you might get with RTMP. You can host this on standard HTTP hardware. You don't have to have any special networks set up. Or special servers for that. And the protected HTTP streaming is available. The downside is you got to put all those fragments back together. So you need some logic on the player side to do that. Now, Adobe provides us with some pre-built players. OSMF, Open Source Media Framework, is the framework they provided that has this built into it so that this happens for us. We don't have to write it. And we'll take a look at that as well. I'm not going to. They have one that's pre-built for you using OSMF called Strobe Media Playback, and that's the one I'll be demonstrating today. And it supports this. And of course, you've got to have Flash Player 10.1 and later, which most people do, but you have to have that as a consideration. Then we have HLS, and this is the format that's supported natively on iOS devices and in Safari on the Mac and QuickTime on the Mac. It does support live and on demand. It does use the standard HTTP connections as well. Same benefits as HDS. It just goes to iOS devices, right? And the one downside is that you don't get the real-time interactivity, the data. You can't do that. It's just strictly a one-way streaming connection, as opposed to RTMP, which is the two-way. Excuse me. So then we have this funny little addition, RTMFP. And I got really, really excited when this was announced because it meant that you could do peer-to-peer, real-time communication, video, audio, and data in Flash Player. Unfortunately, it's a pain to get going with, and the user community around it it didn't really get that big because it's also pretty expensive to do. So just if you wanted to do a peer-to-peer app, there's still hosting costs. You think peer-to-peer, you're offloading all of that, but there's still the server cost because Flash Media Server, the Enterprise Edition, which if you saw the price is pretty expensive, needs to do that initial handshake to connect those peers together. So it's still the price kind of evens out. But it does allow you to do multicast. So that enables video delivery within Enterprise at a cheaper rate, but it does require a special network configuration. So you're actually doing multicast fused with RTMP. So you can have a fallback if the peer connection fails or it's blocked for some reason, then RTMP comes into play. Or if someone's outside of the network, inside the network they'll be peer-to-peer, but if they're outside of that multicast-enabled network, then it falls back to RTMP. And then strictly peer-to-peer. It does have similar uses to RTMP. It's massive scale, but as I said, it's kind of hard to, complex to get going with. So choosing a protocol. This is just a quick glance at what's supported where. The X's aren't really very helpful. That means it is supported there. So in live streaming, all across the board except progressive. If you want live with real-time interactivity, some chat or shared objects moving around, things like that, HDS, you could combine it with RTMP because you're in Flash. HLS, not really. You're stuck with HTML5 player on or native playback on iOS. You could build a custom app if you wanted to and access some things there, but for interactive and live, you'll want to go with HDS. Or RTMP, you can do ingest and playback, live interactive streaming, full support. On-demand HD streaming, you could do across the board. Progressive is not recommended really for HD, but you can, of course, stream that way. Or it's not streaming, but you can, of course, deliver the video that way for playback. And on-demand interactive. HDS, again, can be combined with RTMP if you want some interaction. Or HLS, not so much. RTMP is preferred. So these are the preferred versions, or the preferred approaches here. And BOD, and then interactive would be RTMP. And like I said, you're going to download these slides later. So details. Okay, so let's look at how you stream via RTMP on FMS. There's something called the VOD service. It's basically a folder. And I'm going to jump over and show you where that lives. It's basically a folder. And within that, I'll just jump before I do that. I'll jump over here. So let's find the FMS install directory here. It's on our disk. I have a shortcut to it, but I want to show you where it is. Program files, Adobe. There it is. And so this is when you install the development server, this is what you get. And all of your applications are in this little folder called Applications. And you can put your own custom applications in here, but it comes with standard services. So the VOD is one, and you would drop your videos into VOD Media. And let's see, go back. And as I said, the streaming server will have this service, but you can't edit it at all. You can't have your own custom applications at all. You're just stuck with the services that are here. But because this is the development server, we have full access to it. So that's where I put the files. And once you put them there, then you write up a manifest. That looks like this. So this is what the manifest looks like. Can you read that? It's kind of small. But again, you'll grab this. And I'm going to have all these files. I'm going to do a blog post on this, and you'll have all these files to download. So you can just customize them yourself. And there's also a manifest tool, which I'll show you, that will build these for you, that comes with FMS. But it's basically an XML file. And you just specify your base URL here, and the type, which is recorded, and then the media URL. And in this case, you always, because it's H.264, you put MP4 : before the file name. That's important, so that Flash recognizes that that's the type of file that you want to stream. And then you just enter in the bit rates for each of them. And there's a typo in there. It's actually 1,000. It should be 1,000.
Does RTMP only support the F4V driver?
No, you can also use standard FLV as well for VP6 content. So, and in that case, you would leave off the MP4 in front. All right, so we put this manifest in our Apache folder, which now Flash Media Server ships with Apache, so it has a web server built into it. So we can just test everything locally here, which is nice. So I'll go back up to that. And that's down here in WebRoot inside of the Flash Media Server folder. So anything you put here, you can access by localhost in your browser, just localhost / So I have that set up here, and it is HDS SME 4M. So to test that, Flash Media Server also comes with some testing, like a sample player that you can just throw URLs at to play, which is nice. So we'll go over to the browser, and this is our start page here. That's how you know that it's actually working. But in localhost, there's a player that you can use, video player, HTML. And this one actually has a field down here where you can tell it to, or you can specify a stream to play or a manifest to play. So we're going to say, what was it called again? It's called HDS SME M3U8 F4M. Where is it? There it is. Copy that, paste it in, and play the stream. FMS never fails to fail for me. Oh, and there's our problem, because I was using the old URL, which was trying to connect over RTMP. We're not connecting over RTMP. We're connecting over HTTP. So that was a useful learning tool. So there it is. So this is our dynamic playlist, and it's playing the the highest quality right now because it's all local, right? It's playing the manifest file, yeah. So F4M. So it's the manifest file that was in the slide. Yep.
If you click the files on the upper right, does it start at the beginning, or does it just switch over?
These here?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can play individual files if you want to. So this is what the low quality looks like.
Is it starting over?
It's going to start it over. Yeah, this is not part of my manifest. This is just the files that are actually sitting there. I'm going to play the single file. Actually, you can see how low quality it is. No, maybe not. Yeah, you can see that that's definitely the low quality one. All right, so we'll leave that open because I want to show you the live in a little bit. So jumping back to PowerPoint, so that's the manifest that was being played, is that one right there. Oh, you know what? I showed you. Sorry, that was the HDS manifest. Let's look at RTMP manifest, which I didn't set up. Control copy. I'm just jumping ahead of myself. I skip over RTMP all the time. All right. So you get the gist of it. So this is the RTMP manifest, and it will play those files directly from, and again, you can still put that into your the web root because we're still accessing it there. All right, so let's stream live over RTMP. And that is a manifest that I created here. And we'll copy that. All right. There we are. So to stream live, you use the live service. Just like the VOD service, there's a live service, right? And this is what the manifest for that would look like. Basically the same. You just have the base URL is different because you're pointing to live instead of VOD. And that's right there. And then you specify the stream type of live. And then you have the bit rates here. So I'll show you how we do that. And we do that using Flash Media Live Encoder. So let's go into Flash Media Live Encoder. It should already be running. There we are. Okay. All right. So in this case, I'm not going to change all of these settings because I have everything set up for HDS streaming, and that's much more intricate. So all you have to do is connect to your FMS server, and you connect to the live service. So here in your FMS URL, it would be RTMP, and then the URL of your server, which would be, it could be an IP address, whatever localhost is what we're using right now, and then /live, and it's going to connect to the live service, and you can set everything up. Now, one thing to note, if you're going to do H.264 video on the PC, you need to purchase the AAC add-in. It's not in it, so you have to license that. It's, I think, around $200, something like that now. Because, if you're broadcasting using a Mac, it's free. It's built in to QuickTime, so it just accesses that. But if you're on the PC, you have to buy it. So, and that's recommended to stream with AAC and H.264.
Is that true for both the encoder and the FMS itself, or
just the encoder? Yeah, just the encoder. The decoder is all paid for. So, but that is good to note that now you can encode your webcam in Flash Player using H.264, but AAC is not part of that. So you're stuck with MP3 if you're grabbing that webcam through the browser, which was kind of a buzzkill, to say the least. So that's how you would do it, and then you just start broadcasting, and then you can access that using the manifest that I showed you over here. Again, in that sample player, and we'll do that with HDS streaming, and you'll see there's a little bit of latency there. All right, so let's look at our time. All right. So I better get moving because I definitely want to show you that part. So we'll skip this part. So HDS. The old way, used to have to take your MP4 videos, your H.264 encoded videos, MP4, F4V, whatever format you used. You used to have to pre-process those with a command line utility and then put all those fragments up, and then Flash Media Server would serve them for you. Now, you don't have to do that. You just put your standard files that you use for RTMP streaming up there, and as long as it's H.264 and packaged as a F4V, it will be handled for you. You just place those files in the webroot VOD directory, not the VOD service. That would be for RTMP. This is in the webroot VOD directory. And then you create a different kind of manifest called a set level manifest. And this is newly supported in this version, where the manifest, you've got a manifest for a single fragmented file. Well, this it's like a manifest of manifests, basically. So this is called a set level manifest. And you can create those with the F4M configurator utility, which I'll show you right now. It is a utility that comes with FMS now. And we'll go to Flash Media Server Tools, F4M config. And you just open that up in a web browser. And you enter your different stream names, or the full URL to the stream, the bit rate of that stream, and then you just add it to the list over here. You can also set a base URI. I've had a limited success with that. I tend to put in the whole URL for the best results. For some reason, sometimes it gets corrupted, or it just doesn't want to accept that. So I recommend using the full stream URI. And then you can also use the same utility to create M3U8 set level manifests, which are for HLS streaming to iOS, which we'll look at next. So it's a handy tool to have, so you're not in there trying to edit all the XML, which is a pain. All right, so... All right. So the manifest looks like that. And I'm going to grab that. Let's see. Before we go into live, let's take a look at what that looks like. So if I take this URL of the manifest that I created there and put it into our player, there you go. So it's reading that set level manifest, and it's playing the highest quality file. Another thing I do recommend, though, is if you are building your own player, to try to have it default to the lowest quality first. And that way that video starts playing right away, and then it can shift up on the next keyframe. Right? Yeah, yep. And it, because it's local, it just shifted. It said, "Oh, we're local," so it went to the really high bit rate. All right. And next we can stream live, which is fun.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Sure.
Is it F4V only, or is it any MP4 file that's just H.264 AAC?
Adobe says F4V only, but I haven't tried one. Have you?
I have, but as far as I know, F4V is only different in that it has the XMP metadata track, so I don't know.
Right. You know what? It might be recommended because I'm using the strobe media playback,
Right.
and strobe media playback maybe recognizes that extension. But that's a good question.
And is there a specific chunking time that it uses for the keyframe interval? Like, you have to encode the 10-second keyframe interval? Like, how does, or is that variable?
Right. That's variable. For the on-demand, it's variable. For live, they have recommendations, which I'm going to talk about. especially if you're going across HDS and HLS. For the live, they recommend 4 keyframe interval of 4 seconds. So, yeah. So to get going, streaming live to both Flash and to iOS, you have to do a few edits to your config file in Flash Media Live Encoder. They want you to set your fragment duration, default fragment duration to 4,000, the segment duration to 16,000, and your disk management duration to 3. And that's in this live packager events event XML file. So that's recommended so that everything's kind of handled smoothly across both devices while it's doing the real-time packaging. And then the other little thing that you have to do, which is really, really important, is to delete the files that were there. If you had already broadcast once using this, you need to delete the manifest XML file that's created. And I'm going to go and do this so you can see it, and the chunks. It's a bug that I've told them about and that they know about, and so I'm sure it's not going to be forever, but that's where it's at right now. So you have to remember to do that. Otherwise, you'll get everything set up perfectly, and it's just going to fail. So let's go ahead and launch FMS or FMLE, and they do have some recommended settings to. You can go forward from here. I'll show you. But they recommend starting with the 800 kilobits per second H.264 preset, baseline profile level 3, keyframe frequency of 4, and then their recommended bit rates, because you have to, if you're broadcasting live, you've got your pipe that's going out. So if you're going to do multi-bit rate, it's going to kind of bring everything down because you have to have room for all 3 bit rates going out on that pipe. So they recommend 150, 500, and 700. So let's go over to FMLE, and we've got this set up here. H.264. I would love to have AAC, but somehow I've lost my plugin, so I have to reinstall that. But MP3 will work. It's just not the best. And then over here, we enter our FMS URL. In this case, it's RTMP / localhost / live packager, spelled LIVEPKGR. Then we enter our stream name. And when you're doing a single live stream, you can just, a single live RTMP stream, you can just say live stream, and that's the name of your stream. But for HDS and or for HTTP streaming in general, you have to stream via an event if you want to do multi-bit rate. So it's actually an extra level. So it's live stream is the name of the stream. And I wish I could zoom. If I was on my Mac, I could zoom in on this little thing for you right here, but I can't. So let me go back. It's, I think I've got it in my slide. See, I want you to see this. There it is. So it's actually, so we're connecting there to Live Packager, or to the, and that's via RTMP. The ingest is RTMP for this. And then the stream name is live stream, and then it's %I, and that's going to give it sort of a, it's a variable. It's like whatever the bit rate is going to get tagged in there, right? Or I'm sorry, it's going to number those, 1, 2, and 3. I think %B is bit rate, but %I will just number them. So it's going to be live stream 1, 2, and 3. So we got to remember that for our manifest. That's what we need. That's the file name that we're going to put in our manifest. And then we have to tag question mark ADBE live event equals live event. So we have to specify which live event we're broadcasting to, right? And then to access that, we go to this manifest here. And so here we have live stream 1, 2, and 3, and we specify the bit rates there. So let's do it. Let's go ahead and start broadcasting using all of those settings. go. Audio, video, encoding started. So we're broadcasting now. So I can hide this. And if we go back to PowerPoint, and I will grab that URL. And go back to our sample player. Paste it in. And play that stream. Wait a second. Oh, you know why? Robert, you didn't remind me. If you see this, it means you didn't clear out those fragments. So let me show you how to do that. All sorts of teaching moments in this talk. FMS 4.5, applications, live packager, events, def inst, which means default instance, if anybody's curious. And there's our streams. And actually, I'm going to go back here at stop broadcasting, delete those. Okay, now we can leave the event XML, but delete the streams. And then go back up.
So you have to do that every time, then say you stop and start the stream?
That's what I found. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm sure the CDNs have figured out a way. They just do that, for you. But yes, that's what I found that you have to do right now. Yeah. All right, so let's go back. Now we're broadcasting again. And play the stream. Ugh. Let's see. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. That was it. I still had VOD in the URL. All right. So if you give that a second. A little bit of latency, getting it started. But that should start playing any second now. So while we wait, let's go back to the PowerPoint because we're running out of time. All right, so how do you do HLS at that point? You get all that set up. You set level manifest for HLS, which is actually a different format. It's an M3U8 playlist. And it's set up like this, so it looks slightly different, as you can see. And as I said, I'll give you all these files. And to stream live, it's basically you already did all the setup for it. You just need to point to the streams using a different M3U8 playlist that points to those live stream 1, live stream 2, and live stream 3. And let's check on our stream. All right, so additional features, protected HTTP streaming. You can do, it actually embeds DRM metadata into that stream. And you can add business rules, but not as much as Flash Access. This is actually like Flash Access Lite. It does the encryption, but you can set a 24-hour expiration. That's the only thing, only parameter you can give it. So it's good for 24-hour rentals, that kind of thing, and it's built right in to FMS 4.5. You just need to do some configuration, and that'll play. And it does have an option to use hardware protection as well, if you need to have that. You can set low, medium, and high encryption levels, and depending on your application, you could configure it at the application level, at the event level, or on anything that's in Apache. You could set it that way. Or anything in the web root, basically. Or you could use Adobe Flash Access. So let's check our stream and see if we got it. By chance. It's still loading. All right. So sorry that didn't work. I think I'm 3/4 of the time it works for me when I demo FMS. The other time it kills me. So, but I will be providing all those files for you, and you can test them out yourself. That'll all be available to you. And I blog about all this stuff, and I'll put this up on my blog, so you can download that and follow me on Twitter. And I hope that you got what you came for as far as getting up to speed with FMS 4.5 and how it can allow you to deliver a multi-bit rate to iOS and to Flash-enabled devices. So at this point, are there any questions? Yeah?
How many users can a single FMS server realistically handle, disregarding network
Right.
Bandwidth, but
Right.
just as far as connections?
So the question is, how many users can an FMS server actually handle? And I've been getting this question, and I ask this question all the time. It's a good one. It depends. It's not the answer you want, but it depends on the bandwidth of the streams, what protocol you're using, what if you're using multi-bitrate or not, and how the connections of everyone. Robert, you're running a lot of FMS servers. What's your average streams that you've found? Oh, you're not. Oh, I forgot. Sorry. You have in the past. Well, it's really based on your bandwidth of your host and your.
Based on what its clusters, I would say you look at the same. It's usually bandwidth that's going to be your limitation.
Exactly. I mean, that's really what it comes down to.
You're limited to like what the Windows layer is going to prevent. I think Alex has talked about it before.
Yeah.
It's pretty high.
It is. Yeah, especially if you're doing.
It's not Java based, so that's
Yep.
probably the good thing FMS has over browser. Java has built-in limitations.
Yeah.
Connections for data transfer, so
Right.
it's going to be better than Java.
Right. And it's 64-bit now.
Hundreds of users or
Oh.
thousands of users?
Thousands. Yeah, definitely thousands. Yeah. So any other questions? Anybody else? All right, well, I'm going to give these two things away. So I have two questions. What's the name of the new kind of manifest? Raise your hand. That's now supported with multi-bit rate on FMS. What's it called? Yeah. There you go. All right. There's just, goodies in there. Sure. And the other question is, what's the file extension for a set level manifest on for Flash Player? Yes. You were second. I know you were. But you didn't. Did you raise your hand? You didn't raise your hand. See? Did you want that? Sorry, Jan. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Wow, power source. Yeah, that'd be good.